All right, welcome back to Chapter 1 of CSE 3200 Yukon Stores. So in this video, we're going to be covering laying out the user interface. And this is what our interface is going to look like. You saw it in the end of the last video. Okay, so the first thing is that we're going to have a linear layout for the parent. And it is going to have an orientation that's vertical. Now we're going to start here in the center. We're going to put gravity set to center so that it would start, the text would go like this, and it would start vertically in the center and horizontally in the center. So we're going to set orientation to vertical. We'll set gravity to center. And then the next component we're going to add is to be the text view. And then right after the text view, we are going to add two buttons. So we want those buttons side by side instead of one on top of each other. So we have to nest them inside of another layout. This time, the linear layout is going to be horizontal. And we actually are not going to get to the toast in this video. We will get to it in the next. The main, I'll do that now. I will keep this because you'll get that as a default. I'll get rid of this and I'll get rid of these guys here. All right, so that's our default main activity. I'll reset it. I will also, last time I said we were going to go find strings, and I went and I found activity main. So the activity main is our layout manager, so it lives in resource layout. Our strings lives in values, and it's right here, and it will start off as a default of just our app name. So there you go. Almost everything's reset to the default. Under here I left a little bit because I'm getting a little bit bogged down with the autocomplete, so it's going really slow. So I put in so things that I can just point to, I guess, and talk about. All right, so we got rid of our constraint layout and text view for the default. So there were some extra XMLNSs in that default file. We don't need the other ones yet. We actually do put them back a little bit later, but we'll put stuff in as we are going to use them. That way we can talk about them and learn them one by one instead of having everything hit us at once. All right, so that first line all the way up at the top, that is going to be required. It is telling you what version of XML we're going to use. And this one is also going to be required no matter what layout we have. We have to name the XML namespace. That's what XMLNS stands for, XML namespace. And if we go to autocomplete, I mean, it's going to be there for you. So it's not something you have to memorize, which is nice. The layout width and height is going to be required for all of the components. So I already have that in there. I think I have an error up there. Yeah, I do, because there's something else that's required for a linear layout. You got to put in orientation, but I wanted to do that in front of you. Okay, so take a look at the layout widths and heights. These two up here say match parent, whereas the others, they say wrap content. Those are really the only two types, and you really have to know the difference between them. Match parent says I'm going to be as big as my parent. And wrap content says I'm going to be as big as I need to be. So if I have a text view and I have Canberra is the capital of Australia, and that's a large text string, then the view is going to expand for it exactly. If I said something like match parent, then it would just go the entire width of the screen every time. Waste space may not look as good. So you might have to play sometimes with these two, but match parent in our first app is only going to be used for the parent layout. And that may seem strange because it is the parent of everything in this file that you see, but like in Java, like everything has a parent all the way up to object. So for us, this is a layout, and its parent is a context. So it's going to match the context's size, height, and width. All right, so let's see. For our parent layout, we are going to go Android, and we are going to say orientation, which was required, and we are going to set it to vertical. And I want to set the gravity to center, Android, gravity. Autocomplete's not going to be that great for me, so I had to use the down arrow. Speeds it up a little bit, and then I can use the down arrow to select center. Okay, a couple of shortcuts, that's nice. So this linear layout begins here and it ends down here. We do have an end elbow bracket to say that there's another component coming. So the values for this attribute are done, but other views are going into it. So the text view, it ends with a / and end elbow bracket. So that's the beginning and end of it. This linear layout begins here and ends down here. But here again these are the attributes that I'm going to have for this linear layout. Let's go here because it's going to be similar to the one we just did. We need an orientation. So Android, orientation. And this time it's going to be horizontal. All right, we also are going to put a little bit of padding into the linear layout. That way the text isn't smashed right up against the button. There'll be a little bit of cushion. So we're going to go Android, padding, and we're going to set it to 24 dp. Now just a couple things about this. You will learn about that line a little later, but dp is density independent pixels, and it's what we're going to use most of the time. We might use SP for text, but other than that, it's going to be dp. And we tend to use numbers like 8, 16, 24, multiples of 8. You might be playing with that in order to see what looks good, but you know, this is what was in the book and it looks fine. I probably played with it, but probably set it back. All right, let's see. What else? Let's go up to the text view, and we need to, oh, wait a minute. It's the one that gets the padding. The text view gets the padding. So let's cut that and put that in here. And then we are going to give it some text. So we're going to go Android, and then we'll go text, and we'll go equals. And I'm going to correct this in a second. This is not the way it's going to end up. Canberra is the capital of Australia. All right, looks good. All right, let's go down to the buttons. Let's give it some text. And I could copy this whole line. It's going to be much shorter text. The true button is just going to say true, and the false button is going to say false. All right, so I'm kind of curious if we got what we want for our layout. Oh, let's see. In my main activity, I have enough to actually show it. That's fine. And I don't need anything in strings right now to show it. I've asked the emulator to start, and we'll see if it actually does. Nope, it says I have some errors. It says I have one error in the main class, and I can see a red line here. And I am missing, okay, when I deleted stuff, I deleted the end brace for both the onCreate method, or the onCreate method I took it out and I left the one for the main activity. Okay, let's try again. Let's see if it'll get it to run. It takes a while to run the emulator, so I may not be doing it too many times. All right, so we have it. We have the text, and we have the true and the false. Okay, so we're going to go back to the activity underscore main XML, and we are going to change the true and the false, and Canberra is the capital of Australia. I put an extra R in Canberra, and that did not show up here, which leads me to believe that it didn't run what I just asked it to run. Okay. All right, so we are going to change this from a literal string to a string resource. So we are going to go at string and then /, and that should not be caps locked, string /, and we are going to call it text string. And it should say, yeah, error, that does not exist, but that's okay. We are going to fix that. That is going to be a resource that we put into the strings.xml. We're going to do the same thing for true, at string /, and then it's going to be true _ button. And for false, at string / false _ button. All right, looks good. We're going to go into string, and we are going to start making lines an awful lot like this. There isn't much to it. The actual string is the thing that is not contained in double quotes, like GeoQuiz here. All right, so string name equals, and this was, I think, text. I forget already. Okay, it was text string. And the quotes, elbow bracket. I did not put quotes here, which is a bother. All right. And now in between these two elbow brackets, I will put Canberra is the capital of Australia. All right, I'll copy and paste. This time it is going to be true button. And it's just going to have the word true. So that's a little bit shorter. I'm going to copy this, paste it, and change it to false. So false button, and change the text to false. But let's suppose I don't. Let's suppose I forget and I set it to true. I want to make sure that this is actually working. So let's go first back to my activity.main.xml and make sure that those things, this is red because I have a W in there, and now it understands what I mean from the other file. Okay, so fix that and let's run it. Okay, as expected, great. I pretended that I forgot to change the text from true to false, and look, it showed up as true and true, so it looks like that's working. So let's go back and change that to false. Okay. So in the main activity, I really don't have anything to change until the next video when I wire it up. But let me talk you through a couple of things here before I go. Now let me get rid of that line because it's right at my eyes. So don't need to be staring at that. All right. So let's see. If I use autocomplete, then the appropriate imports are going to show up. If I know what I want to type and I type it out and it shows up red, and I'm like, wait, why did that happen? It might be because I didn't use autocomplete and I still have to do the import. So autocomplete, has a couple of good uses. Okay, so class main activity : app compat activity. That is going to be the line that we use in every one of our projects, and it's just something that's already there for you, so you don't have to have that memorized whenever you use the editor. But I'm telling you that what that does is it ensures backward compatibility. So it's just a package that's been built in. I don't even know when, but it has to be relatively recently, in the last decade or so. Okay, so the onCreate is, we're definitely talking about that in Chapter 3, a big concept. So let's see, these first two lines are going to be the same way every single time. What you see here, the only thing that I believe, are ever going to change is this line, and we actually do that pretty quick in Chapter 2, I think. All right, so anyhow, this is where we're going to write our logic. So it's going to be responsible for what happens when the user interacts with our app. So this is where our user interface is. So our main is our user interface, and our activity underscore main, that is our layout manager. All right, so let's see. So our objective today was to lay out the user interface, and we did exactly that by putting it into these activity underscore main.xml. So we'll see you next time when we finish up this chapter. We're going to make our app actually do something. We're going to wire up our views so that we have some interaction, and then we'll finally get to make some toast.